EMS report.
524 calls made in April. Out of that, 19 were non-transport. Out of the 92, 14 were treat no transport. Those that we usually are helping out from the floor for patients that fail, not injured, but they need some assistance. Update on the digital dispatch for law enforcement. A week from today is our plan to turn on the digital, and all law enforcement will move from analog to digital on the radio system. We have a meeting today at 11 o'clock with the dispatch board, just as an announcement at the EMS headquarters.
Just you all, Joe's right now is on digital, just EMS's.
Just law.
Just laws on.
Just law enforcement. All the radio's been changed out, programmed. Rest of the program will be done this week, and then the repeater will be programmed on Tuesday next week.
Everybody going at the same time, or is it being
all
staged
over.
in, or city,
All
county?
City, county, New Haven, and Wilmington.
Why don't you guys give us an update on the tower, where we are on the communications tower, the new one?
I'll let Brad handle it.
Okay. Of course, you guys have ordered it. We're trying to work out some maybe possible deducts on it, but after it was basically we were going to dig the footers for them, but their deduct
Wasn't very significant.
Judge Watts decided not to do it, so we just need to sign a contract and get going. I mean, basically that's it. We've been holding off a little bit on there's the last 200 feet of roadway to be constructed. Salt River needed to do the parking lot around that area. We're trying to hold off for them to get that done. I haven't been after it.
No, we probably ought to look and see for my guys.
What it is, their parking lot needs to be elevated 2 more feet. Well, I didn't want to build the road up, not knowing what elevation exactly to tie the road to, so we held back some, waiting on them to get that done. We have to have that road done in order to get the materials back there. It's about 5 to 6 week delay once we tell them, okay, let's go, and we get the insurance documents in before the materials will show up on site. Just takes that long to get it done, so, I mean, we need to get going on it.
Do we need to grab them to all the way to their site before they come in?
We have to get concrete, we gotta get concrete.
So we need
Right, we gotta get concrete.
It's gone.
Yeah, we got it.
You got
Jim's crew got it.
a big say. I missed it over there.
So that's where we're at. But
Okay. Is that it? Thank you, Joe. Landfill solid waste report, Brad.
Okay, a couple quick things. Every year I provide this big sheet to you guys. You know how we talked about bulky item last time, where we headed at? This is a summary of basically cost of every year that we have been involved in it. And basically, you can look down to 2014 if you want to skip around to the good stuff. Oh, it shows you how many years we've been doing it.
Actually, you were actually doing it before 97, Brad.
That's just all I've got records on.
Oh, one of the record keeping.
All I feel comfortable handing out.
So Judge Abel actually started the bulky item.
Basically what you got, guys, I'll read to you. You spent almost $42,000 on landfill costs. You spent basically $64,000 on labor. How I figure that, how many days Jim then worked, how many guys, and just multiply it out. It took us 31 days to get it done this year, to count actual days, because we had some snow days in there that we didn't work. Your trucking costs were up a little bit. It was $20,000 this year. All that said and done, you spent about $125,000, $126,000 if you include everything. And we always try to pull that labor in there to show what a true cost is to do this. Because you can correct me, Rhonda, I think we transfer money out of our solid waste account to the road department, correct?
Yes.
We do a little bit.
The landfill gets paid actually.
I see opportunity here, Ryan.
So all that's in there, that's a summary. You guys can go back and study that whenever you want. It's just from the years forward of how that program progresses and ups and downs of it. And partially, probably, I talked to Kroger about it yesterday. Why was the cost up a little bit this year compared directly to last year? Kroger's explanation was due to the weather. And what happens is, you know, we shut down for that snow period, which in all honesty gives everybody a week to get stuff out. And what he found is, as the longer we progress towards the spring, the more stuff gets put out in those areas. So,
Especially in certain districts.
Mine didn't have nothing. If you're
You can say
referring
that.
That trucking cost.
I can't believe we turned it, honestly.
That's what we think.
I would not have thought it would have been anywhere near that. Because I didn't see it in my area.
On the tonnage of this, Brad, do you do everybody that comes across the scales too?
Everybody, the way we do the bulk item pickup is, when you come in, if it's bulky item, we charge it to a total separate account.
So what do they do? They tell you it's bulky item? Because I guess it's free to dump, so you know.
Free, yeah. We want them to bring it so we don't have
Yes,
to.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, but yes, but
Was that
like
up
if
this
Keith
year?
Metcalf Construction comes in, you don't get it free.
Right. Was that up this year, people bringing it to you, or do you know? Not really?
Nah, not a whole lot. I mean, some.
Because I didn't see it many piles when I did.
That total cost though.
I've noticed people bring their own. A lot of individual people, I've talked to people call me up on the phone and say, you still doing a bulky item? I said, oh, by the way, if you've got, he already had it loaded up on a wagon several times. I said, well, you can go ahead and bring it to landfill, it won't cost you nothing, just take it out there and just dump it yourself. That saves them from having to unload it or leave their wagon there, and our guys tear up the wagon bed, put their equipment, or the wagon flooring, put their equipment. Bobby knows what I'm talking about, doesn't he?
If you look over the last 10 years, landfill costs, it's really down, don't count last year, that's kind of a clue. I don't know why it was so low last year, but the 41,000.
Well, I seen more out last year in my district than I did this year.
But the 41,000 is less, and you look at what they paid to get in landfill last 10 years, it's below that. So it's not like it's increasing out there.
Tires were down last year.
Tires were down last year because we had that tire
And
ambulance
the tire
program.
ambulance.
And what I did is I directed, people would call me and say, and we got inundated this year, somebody would bring 300 tires in. Last year, if I got that phone call, hey, you can wait till blah, blah, blah date.
72 tire spread.
You did, and then you had 13 tractor drivers.
For sure.
That may be.
So those big calls, I was able to direct them to the tire amnesty program. The second report I gave you guys is a fallen animal report. I gotta give that to the state each year. We get $7,500 from the state for operating that program. This is just a summary of what we spent on it and a summary of what we picked up. That just give you guys an idea. The animals actually were down quite a bit from the year before. Why that is, I don't know.
You said the state gives us 75,000?
No, 7,500.
The local farm groups contribute about 8,500.
8,500.
8,500.
And then we
Farm
finance.
Bureau did.
The public funds.
We put in 60.
That's just informational purpose for you guys. That's a report that I give in.
$66,000.
Got any questions for us?
That's
About
60.
60.
That's $25 an
So
animal.
about 60,000.
Good program.
It's a very good program. If it wasn't for that, it'd be in there.
Got any questions on that before I go to the next thing, Jeff? Last thing I want is, we've talked about this several times, but I'll freshen your memory, our landfill shop. I am done with both specs and plans. Logan and Don sit down with me and help me out a lot. For the news media, this is like a 60 by 100 mechanic shop, and it's got a 40-foot lean-to to it. It'll hold 8 trucks on the lean-to. We can fit 3 trucks inside. I've got a pit in there, Sam. So it's got everything we've talked about. So I'm basically to the point of, we're ready to bid out. So I would need something from you guys saying, yes, you can bid it out. It'll be brought back to you guys for approval, so depending on cost.
Or disapproval.
Or disapproval, depending on cost. And
How you gonna drain the pit?
are we gonna drain pit? Pit's gonna drain into the septic system. We don't have a septic system. Our septic actually gets pumped to our irrigation lagoon, which eventually goes all the way to the city of Archtown. So that pit, the only thing that should ever go in there is if we're washing the truck off and water goes in it. Oil should not go into it.
Right.
We pit it with oil.
I'm just thinking if it floods, if it cracks and
No,
there's
no,
water in it.
that's gonna drain right out into, we have a grinder pump station, same thing I got now out there, same thing we use at the ballpark for the.
They're gonna require a water separator on it.
No, that goes to the, we get tested for oil and water in our leachate, so if that becomes a problem, it'll show up in our leachate. But this water that leaves here and septic will actually get pumped over into our irrigation lagoon.
In the time where the people don't have.
You've been.
One of it,
before, you've seen
yeah.
it. So it goes in the irrigation lagoon, that's where our septic goes, it goes in the irrigation lagoon, it goes in the settling lagoon.
Is that where you
And
ran
then
your
goes-
line out there?
Yes.
See where you ran it to?
Yeah, I'll show you the plans if you want to look at it. But basically. I'd love
So
to wipe
my
hands of
recommendation
this.
is this board go ahead and advertise. We've talked about this for 4 or 5 years off and on. And be a good time to get something like that started. That way by the fall of the year, it might be winter time might be completed.
So all we're gonna do is just advertise for bid.
Yes.
Well, after that's bid, once we get bids, just like everything, I'll bring it back to you guys for approval. I mean, nothing's getting approved technically as far as spending money.
Have a motion on the floor, second by Jerry Hahn. I'll get that out, Jeff and Jerry here, man. You guys go ahead and separate, I can get your names mixed up all the time. All approved, say aye. Disapprove, and motion will carry. Thank you all. I know you guys want, because what this does is a couple of different things. We've been operating our shop out there, I guess, about 15 years, the site.
Longer than that,
Well,
longer than me.
Yeah, but we added,
Probably
we've done it since I've been judge. We added on that
right at 20 years.
small section.
Right.
But you were operating on a little concrete building was out there, but when the city owned it. So then we added on a little bit. So this would get our trucks in, our garbage trucks in and out of the weather, where they won't be able to get completely in, but you'll be able to pull, like farmers pull their tractors into a lean-to. And then you'll have a mechanic shop all incorporated into it as well. Okay, road department report, Jim.
All right. We have started bush hogging. A little more actually broke down last week, so we just put our guys on with bush hogs and sent them out. Started District 4, we'll be going to continue on until grass quits growing. So District 4, then 5, 2, 1, 3 is how we'll go. Clockwise, counterclockwise, 4, 5, yeah, clockwise direction on the county. A little more we'll use it when we have personnel, when things are slow on our maintenance crews and things like that. One of the little projects that you guys gave the road department was put signage up on all the low water crossings in the county, and we did that. There's 19 of them identified that we identified, and they've all had their little signage put up explaining that the area floods when it rains. So then I'm doing potholes, things like that, mostly. We are working out at the fire department's training facility right now with my grader crew, building a driving facility for them. We're cutting out a big, huge parking lot, 300 to 125 feet. We're hauling rock in today, DGA, about 1,500 tons. It's being charged, the rock is being charged to the city of Washington, agree to pay for it. So
We're hauling, our trucks are
our
hauling.
trucks are hauling. So we're paying the cost of DGA $9.15 a ton. I'm gonna use that commercial DGA, but they don't have enough. We'll use as much as they got. It's like $2 a ton cheaper. But we'll put down about 6 inches of DGA, let it sit for a while, roll it, compact it, and then if they get extra money to pave it, we can put in 4 more inches and might have Magle spread it with a spreader box.
Box spreader.
Do a nice job and everything. The grade all did break down. You guys saw my report on it, so it's been hauled to Nashville. Works on it, does a real good job. But you have to take the whole boom off to get it. It's a tilt bearing in there. It's where it tilts, and something seized up or locked up, and things couldn't work. So that happened Thursday or Friday. I guess Thursday. Other than that, basically what's going on. So
Has it gave you any kind of indication how long it's gonna take to fix it?
they just took it down there yesterday, Keith. They came and picked it up yesterday afternoon or yesterday afternoon and took it down there.
So if he tells you it's gonna be down for a couple of months, we may want to consider you.
It won't be done a couple of months, but a couple of weeks I anticipate. But he acted like if we got it quick, he would get on it quick. He didn't have a whole lot of work in front of him or whatever.
And we used to before.
He's the same guy that really
Yeah.
troubleshot our boom board. Where we have problems out of the pumps and whatnot, and the people we bought it for couldn't fix it. This guy fixed it. He works on great alls also, you know.
That's a special piece of equipment, right?
There's nobody in Lowell that works on it. It's just a shame because it's a pain to get it when we can't work on it. When it's something major, we have to truck it to Nashville. It's a pain to it.
It's the most productive piece of machinery we've ever bought with.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I agree.
We did work on the 4-inch thing too, by the way. Hauled a lot of dirt for those guys out there at the county where it got a nice little burn for them. Worked out
For
really
the
well.
shooting sports.
They should have something they had something this last weekend.
That's
They were
ridiculous.
doing derby, so it's coming. Be a nice little facility for them.
Okay, we'll move on then to the next order of business. Anybody have anything for Jim? Anything else? Private roads, the 911 system, I put that on the agenda to have some preliminary, or at least some discussions of how the naming of these private roads could take place. We talked about it briefly a couple of months ago, I believe. Currently, our subdivision regulations state the way the roads are named. Usually the developer will name the roads. As going back and forth, we kind of talked about different ways of some verbiage. Matthew's helped us, Jeff has gotten involved. Existing private roads as of such date 2014 shall be assigned names in accordance with KRS 179.330. The fiscal court for roads in the county that are not located within a city or the governing municipality, which means the cities, if the road is located within a city, and going forward shall be signed and named by the developer. For instance, I've sold my farm, and I'm going to divide this, put my private road down there, have a private road and 3 tracks. Well, that developer will sign a name. Typically, they'll take a name from a family member or something not been used in the past, or some form or fashion. We also talk about a uniform system, too. So there'll be a set of standards for them to follow from that. But, Jeff, you want to make a comment? Or?
Well, this all ties back into the 911 system where they have addressable houses and financial. We're going to have to rename the existing roads. So going forward, we want to make sure that they go ahead and name them, just like they would a subdivision, any other regular road. They have a name on the plat when they.
I'll pass this guy around. And this is our current page 30 of our subdivision regulations. And it talks about the name. I just have the one copy there right now. I should have printed you out some more. You've seen that before, I think.
This
Everybody
basically,
emailed it.
planning and zoning will require the name of the plats now. When they came in, the land's being broke up, and there's a private road, or for lack of a better name, Nash Road, any that more lots, it can be more than 2 houses or more than 1 house on it, they'll have to require the developer or the owner or whoever's drawing the plat to put a name on it.
All right, when we name this road, what kind of signage we're going to use on it?
That we're going to develop, basically on this thing here, what it says is that we, the county road department, we're going to come up with a standard for signage.
Just for
It'll be
private
something
roads?
that's for private.
That way, if our workers are going down through there, they'll know the difference.
It'll be a different, maybe
Color,
color
shape.
sign or something with a TV on it, something like what they do.
Something like what we
today.
talked about, that,
Yeah.
that diamond shaped sign or
And
something.
then the people got to understand, you know, though, a lot of people, well, it's a main road, you should, you know, that it's private, still private, they got to maintain it. They have
I think they'll understand it. Someone.
Jim, you have any comment?
Well, the only thing I think Matthew can add to this too is keep in mind that these private road tracks are a tract of land. They're not a dedicated right of way. So we're still going to have to name them on the plat, private road track A, because they're owned by the three individuals that have tracks at the end of the road. So they're still going to have to be named on the plat, private road track A, and in parentheses can be the road name for the purpose of 911. But these are actually tracts of land that are conveyed by deed to those 3 owners. And with regard to the Nash Road, you might have more than 3, and those are also going to be conveyed as well. So we're going to have to make sure it's always listed as a tract name first, because it's a legal tract. It's not a buildable tract, but it is a legal tract. So that'll just have to make sure. And then the planning commission, all we're going to do is pass it on. We'll ask the developer to name it, but we're going to pass it on to the E911 coordinator to ensure that it meets the standards. And all we'll do is require
They'll make sure it's not duplication and so forth. Yeah.
We'll pass it on. He'll get a copy through the subdivision review committee, and he'll get a copy of every plat that has a private road on it. And then it'll be his responsibility to make sure it complies with the standards.
I think it'll work though, don't you?
I mean, he's already on the list for subdivision review anyway. And we've done that in the past with all city or county roads. The naming gets passed on to the 911 coordinator.
At what point do we put signs on? When houses get built or after?
I'd say the first foot or forward in there, anytime.
Well,
When you do it on page something.
I would say when it's platted, then
When
it's
it's
going to be a
platted.
sign put up because they can put a barn back there.
That's right, or they could be back there putting the fence up and get hurt. You're right.
What about typically at subdivision, we don't put up a sign until after the subdivision road's been.
Once we signed a plat and got a bond,
Is that what we
Then we
do?
order them,
Then we
because
order
it's
the same.
recorded and they can sell lots.
We all do the same thing.
I guess when they sell
I would
lots,
say so.
When they,
we'll think it through.
we'll come up with a system.
We'll come up with something, figure it out.
Joe, you got anything to add from the EMS?
No, that sounds like we're moving forward. That's
What about the ones that don't have names and you guys are gonna name them? Have you come up with a big
We're,
list
that's our
of names?
meeting today at 11 o'clock to finalize that. We've
Finalize what?
how we're gonna do that.
You haven't named it?
No, we haven't. done
Okay,
that.
so y'all coming up with a system to go
Yeah,
after a
we've
name?
made up door hangers that crews, deputies, EMS, fire folks, whatever, will go and pay visits to these folks. They're not home, we have something to leave on the door. It explains what the process is and what needs to happen. If they're there, we'll talk to them directly. But our meeting at 11 o'clock that
Do you
time.
anticipate 100, 200, 300? Do you have any good handle? What's his name, Josh said anything about well over 300? So there's a sign we're talking about ordering and installing. Like this.
Residents now, not private roads, but residents.
Private roads is what I'm worried about. Put
Well, I'm
signs
not
up.
sure how many.
But there's 300 residents live off private roads, some are off multiple, so you may have 150, 150. So we'll have to sit down and figure out how we
We'll
will
figure it out.
Jim, we need to somehow coordinate that with, if the private road's named, how we get it in our office so when we issue a permit.
Correct.
I guess when you get the plat, wouldn't it be on the plat,
You know,
Jim?
they're talking
What
about the
about the
old
ones
private
that
roads.
are, like, in my case, I got 3 private roads that were, that on a farm that was sold years ago with 0 homes on it.
Has the road been built? The private road been built?
2 of them will never be built.
No, I'm talking about the private road. The one private road been
One
built.
has been built.
So, I don't remember how it's the natural. I know some of them-
Yeah, don't confuse this with
No,
that.
it's, this is.
Yeah, what we would
Been built.
do- What we would do in that case, we would put up a sign on the road that's been built, and the other 2 roads that have not been built
You can't
are,
really put
it's a
another
future,
number.
and you can't do enough in that number because it's future development. Nobody's buying, nobody's doing the activity.
The roads are platted, those lots can be built on even if the road's not built.
But if it's not an address, then there won't be anything in a 911 system.
But
They
they have
could
a barn
issue a
back
permit
there.
any day for one,
Right.
on
Yeah.
a, when it's not been
Well,
built.
It'd be nice to come
Digging
up
up
with
the
an
post hole,
SOP on all
cut the
that,
foot.
just say how
And
to
then-
follow the steps.
Just let the buzzer check it.
I can have-
Freddie, you got anything you want to add?
I'll confuse it more, we'll let it ride.
It's not gonna be easy, whatever we do.
You know,
We're doing
it sounds
a
simple
working
on
document.
private roads,
It's not gonna be that bad.
You guys, everybody in the
They'll have
audience
a
understand what we're up
problem
against,
finding
some of these
anything. Got
private
it.
roads,
Plus,
identifying
A lot
for the
like
911
you need to do
system,
it
the
the right
GPS
way,
system.
one time.
You understand
Instead of
that?
doing 14
Right now, they have no name on them, and when 911 people, or the ambulance comes down the highway, typically those people's mailboxes are at the end of this major road, and then there's a private road coming off of there. It might be a half a mile back there of the private road. Finding those people can be very difficult, so we're trying to get into a little more precise on how to get to them and identify where these people are potentially needing an ambulance or fire or whatever.
I found that out when I was looking for a fire over here the other day. It took me forever.
Over where?
In
Gully Lake?
It took forever, man.
Yeah.
You gotta be GPS.
Pretty difficult.
And names to show them on a digital map.
Okay. You understand? We'll move on then. Thank you, Jeff, your efforts on that too.